Hello, in this video we'll talk about how to embellish your piano accompaniment when you play for a congregation while maintaining the original harmony from the hymnal. Hi, my name is Raluca and I help church pianists take their skills to the next level via improvisation. In this video we'll look at the hymn, I Will Sing of My Redeemer. Now be careful, this one is found under several tunes in your hymnals. Well, depends on the hymnal. The one I'll be discussing in this video is this one. I will sing of my Redeemer. There's a chance that your hymnal has it like this. I will sing of my Redeemer. This HYFRYDOL tune, you probably heard it under many other text settings like Come Thou Long Expected Jesus, Jesus What a Friend for Sinners. But today we're doing this one in a 9/8 time. Before we embark on our journey, I need to draw your attention to the fact that this only has the 3 primary chords. And they happen like every measure or every other measure. You will almost never have a time when you have to change the chord mid-measure. And a lot of other hymns, they change the chord on every single beat. So this is very user-friendly for pianists. If you've never embellished before, my top piece of advice is to write the melody on a separate piece of paper and then write the chord symbols or the Roman numeral analysis wherever the chords change. But for the purpose of this video, we'll just jump right into the different variations. Here is variation 1. You see, the right hand just carries the melody, a simple melody, and then the left hand will play 1, 5, 1, an outline of the chord, but the third of the chord will be found in the melody, so it's okay if it's missing from your left hand. This is a very common left hand pattern for piano arrangements, and I'm following the chord progression 1, 5, 5. Let's follow along. Oh, and notice on the screen I'm also including the SATB above the piano accompaniment for you to compare. Oh, that's the first time you hear the 4 chord. You notice there at the end I changed the pattern. The right hand no longer played a single note melody, but it played a full chord, and the left hand no longer played 1, 5, 1. And you may be wondering, Raluca, what happened there? Was that an ADHD glitch? Your brain forgot something? No, that is intentional. If you've studied classical music theory, you know about the cadential 6/4. If you don't know what that means, it is a standard chord progression to end a song. You have a 1 chord in its second inversion, that means the dominant is in the bass, then you have the 5 chord, maybe 5, 7, and then you finish with the 1. But that dominant in the bass line is very, very important. Now, there was almost no way to make that left-hand pattern sound nice and smooth while maintaining this cadential 6/4 nature of the end of the song. Therefore, I decided to switch things up a little bit just to make it sound stronger and more final, more stable. These are just ideas. You can take them, you can leave them, try it out on your own, see if it sounds good. But yeah, that's the reason I changed course there, because of theory. I love theory. Let's move on to variation 2. And by the way, I included a free summary of this whole lesson down below in the description. And if you want to get the full PDF, the one that I'm scrolling through, you can also get that from my online store, and I'll put all the details in the description below. Let's take a look at variation 2. Okay, so here, the right hand carries the melody and it plays chords on beats 1 and 2, or wherever it makes sense to add a full chord, and the left hand will play the same accompaniment as before. So the only difference is that the right hand will have a fuller sound, a fuller texture, but that's the only difference between variations 1 and 2. Let's listen. You can already hear the right hand. It has more stability. 4 chord. It's so uplifting. And yeah, at the end, the same cadential thing. See, that was a very simple addition, very simple change between the two variations. If you need to embellish something, you don't have to change everything about everything. You can just do a little different thing in one of the two hands, and then that's a new variation. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's move on to variation 3. Oh, and on all of these titles in the PDFs below, both in the free version and in the full version, I included an explanation under the title, right hand melody plus harmony. So the right hand is the same as before, and left hand 1-5-1 eighth note patterns, and walking bass line. So that's the new thing in variation 3. A walking bass line is when the left hand goes from one chord to the next in a stepwise motion, not just hopping like this, G, G, D, D, G, G, but maybe G, 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 F, E, D. That is a walking bass line. It's like a staircase where you don't want to jump 5 notes across, but you go one step at a time to connect the two. Listen carefully to that very small change, but effective change. Bum 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 bum. Let's move on to variation 4. Okay, let's read under the title. Right hand melody and broken chords. Ooh, so now the different thing will be in the right hand. Left hand, single note bass line and alternating octaves. Oh, so this is very different from the other variations. The texture will be thinner, but that's okay. Maybe you need a thin texture for contrast. The left hand will be very subtle, because those octaves, they're just going to pinch the main beat, provide a bass line, but they're not going to be in your face. Bum, 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 bum. The right hand, however, it will have this flowy feel, because in addition to the melody notes, you will use broken chords to underline that melody while following the harmony. And because you're changing the texture of the eighth notes before they were in the left hand, look at them, left hand, you're changing the texture by bringing them to the middle register. It's going to sound more gentle than before. Let's listen to variation 4. There you have it, variation 4. By the way, how do you like my new merch? Piano Brains is my online learning platform where I teach pianists how to use music theory to improvise, because that's how I learned to improvise. I wasn't just born with it. I studied theory and then something clicked, and I want to help other pianists get that click happen so they can improvise however they want on the piano. If you want to learn more about the Piano Brains learning platform, check out the description below. I teach pianists how to read chord charts. If they're classically trained and they want to play on the worship team, that's all you get sometimes. And I also teach how to write your own arrangements, the things I'm discussing in this video, for instance. So check below for Piano Brains. Get the mug if you like it. Coffee not included. Moving on, variation 5. Ooh. Just by looking at that score, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'd have to practice that. I probably couldn't just improvise it on the spot. And yes, I did have to practice before I recorded the audio. Let's read the subtitle. Right hand melody and broken chords in 16th notes. Wow. Left hand single note bass line and harmony. So the left hand will have a dedicated register for the bass line, very low. And then the harmony will be in the middle of the piano. And for that to be possible, the right hand had to move up an octave. And let me demonstrate that beautiful thing that's happening in the right hand with the 16th notes. Now you gotta be careful not to play them too loudly, because then you overpower the congregation and things are not going to be worshipful anymore if it's too distracting. And so on. I made a mistake there. Okay, I hope you forgive me. Let's listen to the actual recording. With your pinky in the right hand, you really have to drop into that melody so that it sticks out. Wait. And another thing to keep in mind, balance. Balance the two hands. What I mean by that is if one hand has very busy textures like 16th notes, the other hand should do something else, not 16th notes. It should play quarter notes, maybe eighth notes, but you don't want to make it too heavy because then it's just gonna sound like noise. It may be okay for a piano solo arrangement, but not when you accompany a congregation, when your embellishments should be subtle enough that they don't distract and still effective enough that it keeps things fresh. So don't overdo it. Don't play 16th notes in the right and 16th notes in the left at the same time. Not for congregational purposes. Okay, let's continue. Ooh, this one is triumphant. It's very useful for when you need a very strong last verse, a confident sounding final verse. Let's read. Right hand melody in octaves plus harmony. So already if the melody is played in octaves, it will sound like a tutti orchestra. And then the harmony, you include the missing notes of the chord inside those two octaves. And then the left hand bass line in octaves. So a lot of tutti happening here. And the chords, I changed their inversions here and there simply to keep things interesting. You can also bounce on the same chord twice in a row. But this kind of texture, because it's so thick, it's very effective for a final verse. Let's listen. You can also include chords in the right hand there where you have half notes. Like here. Or here. Let's look at variation 7. Ooh, this one? This is gentle, like a lullaby. One of my students asked me recently, Raluca, how do you play music for offertory when it is supposed to be gentle, non-distracting, like background music? And a lot of students are under the impression that they need to add things to their arrangement to accomplish said goal, but in some cases you need to subtract things in order to achieve that particular sound. In this case, notice how thin the texture is. Also notice that both hands are an octave higher than normal. The left hand won't even outline the 3 beats of the measure. I know there's 9/8, but it's basically 3 big beats, each of them with 3/8 notes inside, so it's 3 beats, okay? It won't outline the 3 main beats of the measure. It will just sit there on a tone. It's not even the root of the chord. Sometimes it's something else, just to keep it very smooth. In the right hand, in addition to the main melody, it will also have an extra note on the downbeat, a 6th apart, a 5th apart, maybe a 7th, we'll find out. Listen to this. These are called open voicings, when there's a note here, a note here, a note there, and there's still enough room in between that you could fit another note in. So that's the trick to this kind of texture, open voicings. You leave enough room between the 3 notes that you play, between the 2 hands, so that visually you can still see that you could add another note in there, but you don't. That's open voicing. Finally, variation 8. This is the most pianistic one of all, if you want to call it that. It would work really well as a standalone arrangement. Oh, by the way, you can use any of these variations to play piano solo numbers in your church, especially when you only need like a minute of music. Offertory, if your church is small. Use one of these variations for offertory. It's less than a minute. Or you can string 2 of them together. This last one is the most showy, but again, we're balancing things out between the left hand and the right hand. Both are playing 16th notes, but not at the same time. The 16th note chain travels from one hand to the other, thus creating this wave. And then when they balance each other like that, it won't feel heavy and dragging. It will feel flowing, and it will have this drive, forward motion. People would want to sing along, and they will feel energized by your piano accompaniment. Let's listen. And that walking bass line again. You see what I did there? I just outlined a chord to fill in that space. Here it comes again. And there you have it! 8 variations on I Will Sing of My Redeemer that you can use for congregational accompaniment or piano solo, whatever you want and whatever your church needs. Thank you so much for watching. To recap, we have the free PDF summary below. You can also get the full PDF version, that one we scrolled through today. Again, link in the description. Check out my online learning course and check out the merch. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you for watching, for subscribing, for liking, for commenting, for sharing with all of your church pianist friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!